Hi, folks. Welcome to the spring 2021 semester and welcome to the course DMPT 2615 Intermediate Video Editing. I am Mr. Thomas. I'm your instructor, and this is the walkthrough video for this course. I'm going to start off by showing you Blackboard here. This is my Blackboard setup. It looks a little different from yours because it shows all the classes that I'm teaching. You can see I'm teaching 5 courses this semester. So yours would just show you the courses you're taking, and I'm going to go down and click on the course DMPT 2615. You should do the same thing. Click on your course 2615 on your version of Blackboard, and Blackboard will open up. It'll automatically go to the announcement section. Okay. Announcements, you probably know this because I think all of you took DMPT 2600 with me in the fall 2020 semester or earlier, but the announcement section are exactly that. It's like a board for any announcements, anything the instructor wants to tell the students. What I'm going to do is, just like last semester, I'm going to send you an email at the beginning of every week, either Sunday night at the beginning of the week or Monday morning at the beginning of the week. And it's going to tell you everything that we're going to do during that week. Use this as a checklist, because of the fact that you want to make sure that you don't forget to do whatever is on that list of announcements for the week. So it's going to be just like last time. A copy of the announcement will be both here on the announcements section, as well as it will be emailed to your email address. Important things that will be in the announcements will be your reminders of quizzes. Okay, just like last semester, we have 1 quiz per week. The quiz is always based on the reading of either the PDFs that I'm going to show you later or the remaining chapters in the text that we didn't cover last time. Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But the quizzes are always due on Friday, the end of the week, and it will be due at 11:59 p.m. of the Friday that we're talking about. For example, in the first week, we are going to actually backtrack a little bit just to refresh your memory. We're going to go back and review some of the skills. We're going to read and do the exercises in lesson number 8 in the textbook. Again, just like last time, we're going to split lesson 8 into 2 parts. First half of the chapter and then the second half of the chapter. The first half of the chapter will be quizzed on January the 22nd. Okay, well, actually, that's the deadline. You have to have it done. You have to have the quiz done by Friday, January the 22nd by 11:59 p.m. on Blackboard. Okay. Quiz number 2 will be on the second half of lesson 8, and that quiz will be due by Friday, January the 29th by 11:59 p.m. And then we continue on through the semester, going from Friday to Friday, giving you a quiz on each chapter that you're assigned to read. And we'll see how that's laid out in our course schedule in the syllabus in a moment. But just remember, check your emails very often, check your announcements very often. Okay, now let's go to the course information section. This is a very important part. The instructor video, it'll have a different name because I'm recording it now, and after I record it, I can change the name. The instructor video will be a link to a YouTube page. You can click this link at any point in time in the course information section to watch the video that you're watching now, the walkthrough video. Okay. Secondly, I have in this section the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro Chapters PDF. Okay, I'm going to click on this link. Now, this is something that I mentioned last semester. A book that we are going to do some extensive work out of, we'll do 4 or 5 different chapters out of it, is called The Craft of Editing in Final Cut Pro. Now, your first thing that's probably coming to your mind is, hey, I thought we were going to continue to learn in using Adobe Premiere Pro. Yes, you're correct. We are going to learn using Adobe Premiere Pro. However, one thing that I've discovered is this book right here, The Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro, is an extremely useful book for a lot of reasons. And it can be really applied to what we're doing for a lot of reasons. First of all, this textbook, it does teach you about Final Cut Pro. This is an old version of Final Cut Pro going all the way back to 2006, okay? But it teaches you a little bit of some advanced technique, some advanced methods, tools you can use in Final Cut Pro. But what it's really about is the art of the edit, and the craft of the edit as well, okay? Basically, it's not so much how do you make the software work. We should have learned that in Dmpt 2600, basic video editing. This textbook and this course is more about how do we strategize, how do we edit different types of projects. For example, a music video is not edited the same way that an action scene is, and that's not edited the same way a complex dialogue scene is. In Dmpt 2600, you did a project where you edited a simple dialogue scene or a basic dialogue scene where it was two people just sitting across a table from each other in a diner just talking to each other. That was pretty easy. Now we're going to make it a little more complex by talking about how to edit complex dialogue scenes. And the method for that, the technique for that is in this textbook, this book, The Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro. Now, this book is not required for you to purchase. I'm not requiring you to purchase this book. But one thing that you do need to bear in mind is that all of the instructions that you get in this book are in reference to Final Cut Pro 6.0. Now, Final Cut Pro 6.0 is very similar to Premiere, but it's not the exact same program, okay? So what that means is that keyboard shortcuts may be a little different. The interface may look a little different, but for the most part, at least 95% of what you learned in 2600 will apply to Premiere Pro, and you'll be able to translate what they say in the Final Cut Pro book to the Premiere Pro book. However, just to make sure that you don't have any problems translating the Final Cut Pro instructions to Premiere Pro, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make and release a series of tutorial videos where you can watch me go through the process of editing the exercises from the craft of editing Final Cut Pro. So that way you're not confused about, well, okay, the book says, or the PDF for, let's say, chapter 2, the PDF says I do this, but we don't exactly have that exact same thing in Premiere. What do I do in Premiere? Okay, that won't be an issue. That shouldn't be an issue anyway if you know Premiere like you should after 2600. But I'll also do videos that demonstrate the chapters, see 2, 3, 4. We're going to try to get to 5. We'll see if we can get chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll see if we can get those 4 chapters done over the course of the spring semester. But you'll have a video, so you'll be able to see how I am able to translate the Final Cut Pro technique to Premiere, which isn't easy. You could probably do it without my help at all. So in the course information section of Blackboard for the course, and in the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro chapters PDFs, I have a PDF for each chapter from that textbook, The Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro. So if you see an reading assignment in the syllabus that says read the PDF on chapter 2, in the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro, Editing Complex Dialogue, you would click this link, download it, and read it. Okay, and not only do you want to read it, you want to do the exercises. You want to do the exercises because at the end of this, you should have a completed scene that you edited, a completed complex dialogue scene, or a completed action scene, or completed chases and fight scenes. I know you guys will really like that one. So that's what you want to focus on is reading the material from the PDFs here and doing the assignment. And making the translations, making that mental jump and technical jump from Premiere to from Final Cut Pro to Premiere. And it's great practice because one thing you'll learn as a professional filmmaker, especially an editor, but any filmmaker, is you're constantly being asked to use new software to do something because that's the demand of the production. I remember one time I was working on a few feature films with an independent film company here, and the director was going to edit his own film, but I was a digital imaging technician on set. So that means that as soon as they shot some video footage, they filled up the SD card or filled up the Blackmagic card or whatever they were shooting on Red Mag. They'd give it to me and I would dump it, I would offload it, I would download all the contents of that mag to the computer. I would make a whole bunch of copies of it, so we had backups and stuff like that, and then I would organize it. But he didn't want to use a program like Avid or Premiere or Final Cut Pro to use it. He wanted to edit. He wanted to use DaVinci Resolve, which is a great program, not one I'm used to using. And also at the time, DaVinci Resolve was really new as far as editing. It had been a great color correction program for really decades before then, but it was just kind of new to the game as far as editing. So a lot of people were kind of thrown off. Well, why do you want to edit on this? Well, that was just the program the director knew. So I had to do all of my work in organizing the footage that was shot in DaVinci Resolve so that he can pick up where I left off and start to edit in DaVinci Resolve. So you have to have that kind of mental and technical flexibility as far as being able to jump from program to program. You'll find out that most of these programs are very similar. The keyboard shortcuts may be different. The user interface may look a little different. The screen will look a little different, but they all do the same things. The only one that is significantly different from all the rest of the programs is Final Cut Pro 10. That's the most recent version of Final Cut Pro 10. That's not the version of Final Cut Pro that the craft of editing in Final Cut Pro uses. The book, The Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro, was made many years before Final Cut Pro 10 came out. And Final Cut Pro 6 is the version that was used for the book, which is very similar to Premiere. So just get used to being able to have that kind of elasticity in your skills, being able to jump from program to program, because you're going to need it. It's not a matter of if you're going to be asked to work with a program you're not as familiar with. It's just a matter of when. You have to be able to do the mental math. It's like driving a car. Most people know how to drive a automatic transmission car. That means a car that's not a stick shift. Okay, if somebody were to say, okay, you're not going to drive in your Honda Accord. I want you to drive a big moving truck, rider truck. Okay, it's different, but it's still automatic transmission, but all of the controls are there. It does the same thing. A vehicle gets you from point A to point B. Yes, it's bigger, it's different, it has specific function of moving furniture or whatever, and there are a few things that you have to be aware of driving a truck that's many times larger than your Honda Accord, but the basics, the fundamentals are the same. The rules of the road don't suddenly change. You don't drive with your feet. The car is not going to fly now because it's a rider truck as opposed to a Honda Accord. All right. So it's the same thing with editing programs. The key is to learn one program. It really doesn't even matter which program, but the key is to learn one program really, really well, and you'll be able to make those mental leaps and learn the other programs. Okay, so that's one thing that this exercise of using Final Cut Pro tutorials, that's one thing that's going to really help you do. And believe it or not, you're going to learn Premiere a whole lot better having to think through the program, as opposed to the book says press the letter N, so I press the letter N. When Final Cut Pro is telling you to press something that's not the keyboard shortcut in Premiere, and you have to think through what they're asking you to do and do the mental translation for what you need to do in Premiere, it makes you much better at Premiere, because the focus of this class is to make you into filmic storytellers, not just a person who just presses buttons on a computer. Anybody can do that. They're teaching Premiere, they're teaching Final Cut Pro, they're teaching Avid, they're teaching all these editing programs in elementary school right now to kids. What's the difference between an elementary school kid who edits and a college student who edits? The difference is it's all in the choices that you make as an editor and how you tell your story. And that's where these tutorials from The Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro come in. It trains you and hones your skill in storytelling from the perspective of an editor. Moving on. So let's go to, so we see what's in the Craft of Editing. Going back to course information, The Dmpt 2600 basic editing video tutorials. If you click on that, basically in there, these are the ones that are here now. These are the same. These are the same tutorials that were in Dmpt 2600. Really basic things. Really, they're portions of chapters like setting up to work, chapter one, the source panel in Premiere Pro. So none of them is a complete chapter or a complete lesson in a text. It's just enough to get you started and get you comfortable with what you're supposed to do. And the rest of it is on you to actually complete reading the chapter and doing the exercises. That being said, in this same folder, I'll add additional tutorials for the chapters in the Adobe Premiere Classroom in a Book textbook. Yes, that is our official textbook for the class, and we'll continue from there. But also the tutorials that I'm going to do for you for the Final Cut Pro Classroom in a Book tutorials, they're going to be in this folder as well. Okay. So now that we have the course information section covered, let's go down to course content. It's the same deal as usual, folks. We have three folders: quizzes, projects, and exams. I told you you're going to take a quiz every week. So when you're ready to take a quiz, you click on the link, and you'll see a quiz. I see my first two quizzes that are there. Chapter 8, Part 1, Chapter 8, Part 2, and you'll see more quizzes populate over time. Okay. You'll see that as soon as I write a quiz, I'm going to continue writing quizzes very soon. You'll see that the quizzes are going to be available long before they're due. Like chapter 2, 8, the two chapter 8 quizzes, they're available for you to take right now, but that doesn't mean they'll remain available for you to take forever. Okay. As soon as I write a quiz, I make it available to you. However, this quiz will be displayed until January the 22nd. This is quiz number 1, first part of chapter 8. And then January 22nd, 11:59 p.m. And then the window closes on this quiz. That means you will not have access to it. So you can take it anytime before it's due. But after it's due, after its deadline, in this case, January 22nd, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. for the first quiz, after that point in time, you won't be able to take the quiz. So you can't wait 2, 3, 4 weeks down the line and say, oh, well, I'll go back and take quiz number 1. Nah, if you miss that deadline, okay, then it's gone. By the way, just in case you're concerned about if you're going to know when the deadlines are, in my announcements, I'll remind you of when the deadlines are. And also in the syllabus, it tells you when the deadlines are. If there are any changes to the syllabus, I will put those in the announcements because we do make changes from time to time. Okay. So that's the quizzes section. Let's go back to course content. Projects, you're going to have 3 projects. The 3 projects are going to be applications of the work that you're doing in the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro textbook. So for example, the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro, as you're doing the exercises, I'm giving you files to do the exercises with, by the way. Just like with the Premiere book, I'm giving you a fresh set of files that's just for the Final Cut Pro exercises. You'll do those, and then later on, what I'm going to do as a project is I'll give you some new files and say, okay, well, you edited a music video as an exercise in project, I don't know, 3 or the final project. I think it's like the final project. Now, here's some footage from a real music video shoot, okay? You have to edit this using the technique that you learned in the textbook or in the PDF I'm giving you, The Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro. Okay, so you're doing the same thing you did before, but with new footage. You'll see that it's not about just following a step 1, step 2, step 3 recipe. A lot of this is going to be about making stylistic choices, which is why all of you enrolled in this school in GPTC's Dmpt program, because you want to express yourself creatively. So what you're going to see a lot in this class is your creative choices are going to expand. You're going to be expected to make creative choices You can't just be a robot following instructions. Yes, you do need to know the technique, but after you know the technique, you're going to see there's a whole world of choices. You have lots of latitude as far as how you want to tell the story of the music video, or tell the story of the comedic dialogue scene, or tell the story of the martial arts fight. Okay. And finally, the exams. We have a final exam and a midterm exam. The midterm exam will be available to you relatively early. That is before week 8 of the semester. Okay, so you'll have from when it appears up until week 8, and that'll probably at least be a few weeks to take the midterm. Okay. However, the final exam is not going to appear until our final exam date at the end of the semester, and we're going to talk about that in a second when we get the the syllabus, because of the fact that this year proctored events are going to be different. Last year, proctored events, or last semester rather, proctored events were just a video chat call where the student, we had a couple of students presented their final projects and we just kind of chit chatted. It was nice, it was good, but according to TCSG and GPTC, we have to be a lot more structured and formal as far as proctored events. This is not just me, this is the entire school that's doing this. And I'll talk to you about the software that we're going to use to conduct the proctored event and how that's going to go. But the proctored event is going to include the final exam. The final exam. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Professionalism and participation, we'll talk about that. We've talked about that. That's just basically we're going to evaluate your prompt attention to assigned content. Are you turning in your material on time? Okay. Are you really, when you're doing these projects, does it seem like you did a really quick and easy job? You just did a, least effort. You expended the least amount of effort to do this at the last minute, or does it seem like you actually took the time to do a thorough and insightful job? That's the kind of thing that we give you, we base your professionalism and participation grade on. Okay, so I think we're done with the course content section. And I think we are ready to go to the syllabus. Here's the syllabus. Oh, by the way, just in case you don't know, I think I mentioned it earlier, the syllabus you can find in this section right here, in the welcome video syllabus and no-show assignment ethics quiz, which I'll cover that really quickly too. Your Dmpt 2615 editing spring 2021 syllabus, you can click this link, you can download it. Please read the syllabus thoroughly. When I review it in a moment, I'm not going to go over every word. However, you need to be aware of every word because of the fact that the syllabus is like a contract between us. Like I said before, if changes are made, you'll see it in the announcements. Okay. Also, something else I want to say before we leave Blackboard is the no-show participation assignment and work ethics assignment. All of you have done this before in other classes. It's the same deal this semester with this course. You must take the no-show participation assignment and the work ethics quiz. You must complete them by January 24th at 5 p.m. That's a Sunday. January the 24th at 5 p.m. is right here. Okay? You must complete your both your ethics, work ethics quiz and your no-show participation assignment on Blackboard by that point in time, or they will kick you out of the class. A registrar will kick you out of the class. They'll withdraw you from the class, and it'll be like you're not in the class. You won't have access to Blackboard, won't be able to get a grade, can't do any assignments, and wherever you got the money from, if you had to borrow money or you got a scholarship or a grant, they're going to send the money back to whomever you got it from. If you do not do the work ethics quiz and the no-show participation assignment before the deadline of January 24th, 5 p.m. I would just go ahead and knock it out, get it out of the way early, folks. You don't want to procrastinate and put it off and end up forgetting about it, and you end up getting no-showed from the class. That means they kick you out of the class because you didn't do that. So really, after you finish going through this walkthrough, the next thing you need to do is do your no-show work ethics quiz. And after that, you need to go ahead and read the quiz. And after that, if you don't have the textbook, you need to get the textbook. And after that, you need to go ahead and start reading lesson 8, which is kind of a review. Lesson 8, advanced editing techniques in the textbook. Let's take a look at the syllabus. All right, which is going to be a summary because a lot of this we just talked about. As you know, this semester will be entirely online, just like last semester. You'll never come to campus or come to a class because of the coronavirus pandemic that's going on right now. Okay. I mentioned the proctored event to you. Our proctored event will be on Tuesday, April the 27th, 2021, from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Respondus Lockdown and Monitoring. Respondus Lockdown and Monitoring is some software that the school has invested in that makes sure that when you take the final exam, which is what you'll do during this proctored event, it's really you taking the final exam and there's no way you can cheat on it. So Respondus Lockdown and Monitoring, I'll talk to you more about that at a later point as far as how you're going to deal with that, because it's like a whole tutorial that I have to go through and training for that. But the idea is that's the new way of doing proctored events. Not just my class, but all classes. Not all classes use the final exam. Some classes use the midterm maybe. Other classes use maybe projects or presentations. I'm using the final exam so that I can put it way at the end of our calendar and we'll have as much time as possible to prepare for it. But we're going to just knock it out, proctored event, final exam at the same time, April the 27th. Please make sure you are there. If you have any problems with that date or time, let me know like now or as soon as possible, because we have to do some very serious, make some very serious adjustments that I would have to go through the dean for in order to make any exceptions to that. And it's a very big deal. So please make sure the exception wouldn't be that you don't have to take it. The exception would be we make other arrangements for you to take the proctored event, the proctored event and the proctored event and the final exam at a later point in time. Okay, so as a description of the course, we're going to focus on more advanced editing and finishing techniques. You guys are going to learn more about the art and craft of editing as opposed to just how do I make this software work. Yes, you will learn more about Premiere. You'll learn more keyboard shortcuts. You'll learn more commands. You'll learn more about how the interface works. But the focus is going to be an exploration of different editing styles and techniques for the different genres that I was talking about: comedy, action, complex dialogue, things like that. And how to create complex compositions with polished transitions, fixed screen direction errors, edit multi-camera projects. We won't do that because that's no longer in the textbook anymore. Although I do have quite a bit of material on that. I may have that as like a supplementary material if you're interested in editing multi-camera projects, because it's pretty useful. All right. So the only thing you need for this is Dmpt 1000, which you've all taken, Dmpt 2600 basic editing, which you should have all taken. This is my name and my email address, thomasj@gptc.edu. If you email me about something and it's Monday through Thursday, please give me 24 hours to respond. If you email me on Friday evening, Saturday, or Sunday, those emails will be answered once I get back available on Monday. Now, because of the pandemic, no teachers are on campus at all until January the 25th at the very least. Last semester, for example, from October 12th to the end of the semester, I was coming into school, I was in my office, but the class was still online. So I was teaching an online class from my office on campus. All right. However, because of the pandemic, we're not even coming on campus. Not that I want you to come in and see me if we are on campus because of safety and health with the coronavirus pandemic. But if you need to reach me, you can either email me, or if you want to talk to me in person, you can email me and we can schedule a collaborate video chat session. Okay, that's a collaborate as part of Blackboard. You guys all know it because you were there on the proctored event last semester. Or once I tell you in the announcements that I'm back on campus, you can give me a call in my office and we can talk by voice if you'd like to do that. All right. Moving on, this is a textbook. Same textbook that you used last semester, just in case you forgot, or if you took this course some time ago and you don't really remember what the book is, or if you took it so long ago that we were using 2017 or something like that. This is a textbook, okay? Uh, Adobe Premiere Pro Classroom in a Book 2020 release, okay? Now, they have this in the in the bookstore on campus, and they're going to do books just like they've been doing it for the past several semesters. You can either call and purchase a book, and they'll mail it to you. You can purchase a book from the bookstore online as well, okay? And you all should be versed in how to do that. If you have any questions on that, you can email me about it, or you can call the bookstore or look up the bookstore on the school's website, gptc.edu. All right. So that's a textbook, and this is it on Amazon, Amazon.com. Okay. Just to show you in the textbook where we're going to pick up, we're going to start with mastering advanced editing techniques. Okay, we're going to skip over putting clips in motion. We're going to do editing and mixing audio. We're going to skip over improving audio. We're going to choose. We're going to use. We're going to. We're going to go over adding video effects, and we're going to go over chapter 13, lesson 13, applying color correction. We're going to skip over exploring compositing techniques. We're going to go over lesson 15, creating new graphics, and we're going to go over lesson 16, exporting frames, clips, and sequences. Okay, so that's how we're going to use this textbook. All right, and you'll see that in the course schedule in one moment. All right, so that's the textbook. All right, remember that this is just a portion of the syllabus that we're going over. There's quite a bit more material on at gptc.edu/supplemental syllabus. Okay, and it gives you information that's just general information about the school, not necessarily my course, but just about the school in general, like withdrawals, technical support, safety and emergency procedures, etc. So you want to make sure that you look over the supplemental syllabus online to cover anything that's not covered in my syllabus. Okay. After that, we have the student learning outcomes and its course competencies. Everything that you should know, at the very least, in this course this semester, is listed in the student learning outcomes, or as we call them, the SLOs. We spend a lot of time putting together our SLOs because of the fact that we want to make sure that the state knows what we're teaching you. And actually, the SLOs are kind of handed to us from the state of Georgia. They tell us what you need to know. So basically what this means for you is at the end of the semester, you basically want to go through this checklist and say, hey, yeah, we covered all 9 of these things and hopefully a lot more. So you're getting your money's worth and you're learning a lot out of this course. Work ethics in class, course policies, you can go ahead and read those on your own time. However, one thing I do want to emphasize, because I got questions on this last semester, late work is never accepted under any circumstances. Of course, there are a few exceptions, like say, God forbid, a death in the family where you had to leave town and go to a funeral, or an illness, a sickness where you were in a hospital. That also extends to dependents like children or a spouse. Okay, that's fine. But the whole thing is I need documentation. That means if you go to a funeral, there should be some kind of printed documentation, official, not a letter from your mom or something, but official documentation that places you in a particular place at a particular time. Okay, so I do want to, I'm very understanding when it comes to family. Family always comes first. However, we just can't let people, miss class or miss assignments willy-nilly and just let them make up. So let them make them up for no real reason. So those are the only exceptions of late work. But once again, you have to have documentation. So as far as we're concerned, aside from some sort of tragedy or some sort of big problem, no late work is accepted. No extra credit is accepted. Okay. Extra credit basically means that, hey, you didn't work hard enough to get the grade you wanted, which sometimes that happens. Okay, it's just life. Or maybe you missed a few quizzes or missed a midterm, and a lot of people did that, missed projects and stuff like that. Now you want to make it up. That's not going to happen because of the fact that that's not how the real world works, especially in film and television. Okay, you don't get a second chance. You might not get a first chance, but you definitely won't get a second chance to do things. If you mess up with a client, if you miss a deadline, they're going on to the next artist who can get it right. Okay, so this is where we train you for how the real world works. Get in the habit of doing your work well, doing it completely to a high level of quality, and getting it done early. Okay, that's what you need to 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 hone. Those are the skills that you need to develop, because it is extremely competitive in the film and television industry. And like I said, first chances are not often, second chances are extraordinarily rare, if at all. All right. So definitely train yourself for that now. No late work, no extra credit, no retakes. You can't retake a quiz. You get one shot at it. The good news is we have lots of quizzes. So if you mess up on a quiz, it's not the end of the world. But I do want to tell you, keep up with your reading. If you're not reading consistently and cranking through at least one lesson or one PDF per week, then there's a problem. Okay? If you get caught behind, if you get behind, we're not slowing down. It's like a train. We're going forward. You're going to have to work extra hard to catch up. All right? Don't put yourself in that position. Start from day one. Get the book as soon as possible if you don't already have it. Download those PDFs from the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro and start working right away. Okay? You want to stay ahead of the train, not get behind the train. Okay? Of course, if you miss any instruction or if you miss any material, of course, this is pretty easy in the context of an online class. It's up to you to get the material. I am not bound to reteach anything. So, for example, I don't have any live sessions this semester. But if I did have a live session, okay, and you missed it, it's not up to me to reteach what I taught in the live session on a time that's convenient for you. And this is a motto I give to my students. It's kind of funny, but it's true. I tell them the school isn't going to pay me for teaching it a second time, so I'm not teaching it a second time. Get it the first time. If you miss it, sometimes we all have emergencies, or sometimes we all can't be there all the time. Make sure that you know how to get the material that you missed, either from a classmate or you look on the Blackboard site, download what you need, do the writing in a textbook or whatever. All right. Please make sure, once again, if you missed it, please make sure you take the no-show assignment and the ethics quiz. Like I said before, the proctored event, every student must participate in it. In our case, it's on April the 27th. That's a Tuesday from noon to 1:30. We're going to convene class online on Respondus Lockdown and Monitoring. That's some software. And we're going to have the proctored event. Okay, the proctored event will include each student taking the final exam for the course. The proctored event and final exam will be proctored. That means that you need to have some form of state or federal ID, like a current driver's license, a passport, a state ID, or whatever. If you don't have one of these government issued forms of ID, please contact me as soon as possible, because we have to make arrangements for that. By the way, proctoring means you're being watched, you're being supervised while you're taking the quiz. A test proctor is a person who is like in charge of you and administrates or watches you while you're taking the quiz or the exam. The proctored event is worth 10% of your final grade, so it's supremely important that you attend the class, that you attend the proctored event, okay, at the scheduled time, and take your final exam. So if you miss the proctored event and you miss your final exam, that's like 20 to 25% of your final grade. That's just blown right there. Okay, so you want to make sure that means that the highest you can get in the class is like a C. Okay, that's if you do everything else perfectly. The highest you can get is a C. That's pretty bad. Oh, by the way, I'd probably take away another 15% or so for your professionalism for missing the proctored event. So at that point, the highest you can get in the class would be like a D. So, and of course you have to retake it. So don't miss the proctored event. Okay. Once again, the final exam is where the proctored event is where the final exam will be given. After that, we have the semester course schedule here, or the semester course calendar. Just like last time, the first row here, the first column is just the week on the calendar. Week 1, which is what we're going into now, is from January the 11th, that is Monday, to January 17th, that's a Sunday. What you're supposed to do is you're going to read the syllabus, It's right here. Watch the welcome video, which is what you're doing right now. Read chapter 8, part 1. Okay. Um, that's what you want to do. And you also want to, I'm going to type this right now, complete the no-show assignment and ethics quiz by January 24th, 2021. That's just a reminder, okay? Because I cannot say it enough. You want to make sure you don't forget this, okay? This will be updated in the syllabus. This will be in the syllabus when you download it. Okay. So as you can see, each week we're going to go one chapter at a time. Okay. We're starting off with the Adobe Premiere Pro Creative Cloud Classroom in a book textbook. That's the official textbook of the class, same as last semester. We're going to start off with that. Go through chapters 8. Of course, your first quiz is on the 22nd of January, like I said. Okay. The second quiz is due on the 29th of January. Okay. And then in week 4, that's when you have to read your first PDF on editing complex dialogue and do the exercise. Okay. Not only is the PDF available to you in course information, but I'll also provide to you your Premiere Pro project file. Okay. Because they rarely start you off from scratch. You normally, if you were to launch the Premiere Pro project file, it will, have all the media imported, and you start organizing and start working on the exercise from there. I'm talking about the craft of editing with Final Cut Pro exercises. By the way, the project files for this were, of course, originally Final Cut Pro project files, not Premiere Pro project files. So I had to go through a very long and arduous process to get those Final Cut Pro 6.0 project files converted to Premiere Pro. And it was really rough because Final Cut Pro 6 doesn't exist anymore. And on top of that, Final Cut Pro 10 is so different from Final Cut Pro 6 that there was no real way to work through the Final Cut Pro system to convert it to something that you could use in Premiere. So you'll get the Premiere Pro project files, and you'll get the media that you'll need to complete the craft of editing with Final Cut Pro exercises. But the first one we're going to talk about is the one editing complex dialogue. You do the exercises and read the text, okay, in week 4, all right? And the quiz on that is going to be on Friday, February 12th, 2021. That's when it's due. By the way, you'll notice that I'll ask you to read something, and then in 1 week, like week 4, and then the next week, week 5, the end of that week or the Friday of that week is when you take the quiz on it. Okay, just so you kind of know the pattern here. So for example, in week 5, you're reading chapter 3 from the Craft of Editing with Final Cut Pro, the PDF, editing action, and then you take the quiz on that in week 6. Now, I'm not going to ask you to send me the Premiere Pro project file for the exercises you do in either book. Okay, if you want to just give me a look at it, you can. But I'm not going to ask you to do that. But your projects, project 1, project 2, project 3, those 3 projects are going to show me whether you really technically knew what you were doing when you were doing the exercises in the book. Okay, that's one of the reasons for the projects. You can see that project 1, by the way, on editing complex dialogue, I'm going to supply you with footage, and you are going to edit the scene together, okay? Using the skills you learned in chapter 2, editing complex dialogue. It'll be fresh footage I give you, separate from the footage from the craft of editing with Final Cut Pro. In week 7, we have our midterm exam. Week 8, we have our midterm exam, okay? We continue, by the way, before week 8 and week 6, we talk about chases and fights in Final Cut Pro. And then week 8, you take your midterm exam and you turn in project 2, chases and fights on Blackboard. I'll give you some fresh material. You'll show me your style of editing a fight, okay? Using some fresh footage I'm going to give you. You'll show me everything you learned here in the number 4 PDF, chases and fights, okay? And then after chases and fights, we're going to jump back to our Adobe Premiere Pro Creative Cloud classroom and a book. Okay. Um, Essentially, we're going to jump in chapter 13, color correction. All right. And of course, color correction, you read it on week 9, and then week 10, you take the quiz on it. Same old, same old. Read chapter 13, um, uh, creating new graphics. That's really all about text, typing text and things like that. That and a whole bunch of other things in Premiere. And then in week 11, you do the quiz on that, and so forth. Okay, and then you'll see right around week 12, I'm gonna say, okay, you need to start working on your final project. All right, this is just before week 13, which is when you have spring break, April 5th through April 11th. Okay, during this spring break, I'm not going to burden you with any new assignments or anything. If you want to work on your final project or anything else during the spring break, that's up to you. All right. I would recommend it, by the way. Week 14, when we come back on April the 12th, what you should be doing is reviewing for the final exam, review your quizzes, take a look at your projects, take a look at the readings, the PDFs, things like that. And I say your final project is due on Sunday, April 18th by 11:59 p.m. Okay, your final project. I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking this will probably be your music video, this final project. Okay. Week 15, review for final exam. Okay, and then your final exam comes in week 16. Okay, on Tuesday, 27th of April, on Respondus Lockdown and Monitoring as part of the proctored event from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Okay, so that's it for the syllabus. Okay, remember I just highlighted some things here. Please make sure that you read over this thoroughly. Okay, if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that for me, please make sure that you reach out to me on that, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions for you. Other than that, welcome to the semester. I'm really looking forward to working with each and every one of you. This is a very exciting class. I'm going to do more than we've ever done before in this class. I'm working hard for you. Now, you all need to work hard for yourselves, and you guys need to really set your mind on honing your skills, developing new skills as far as becoming editors and artists. Okay? I know you can do it. I believe in you. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on Blackboard.